Okay, we'll make a start. Very good evening, everyone, and welcome to this EBCU workshop, which is one of the series of all about beers, and this one is all about Italian grape ale. So, very good evening, everyone. My name is Brett Laniosh, and I'm one of the EBCU project coordinators. If you just joined the meeting, if I could ask you to mute yourself. Apart from if you're presenting or you're about to speak. If you've got any questions, please ask them in the chat window, which you'll see on the right-hand side, and there's some useful links there. Very briefly from me, I just want to promote the next workshop, which is on the 13th of June, and it's all about Sakti. Now, Sakti is a very traditional Scandinavian ale, so I'd highly recommend you attend. One thing I would say is if you are unsure that you're able to attend, please do not get a ticket. The tickets are free, but we only have a 100. That's because of the Zoom license we have. Now, we never have a 100 people attend, but we sometimes just sell over 100 tickets. So apologies if you've tried to get a ticket and you weren't able to for another workshop. So what we'd say is if you cannot attend, then you cancel your ticket, which I believe you can do. So I'm going to sort of hand over now to Bo Jensen, who's the chairman of EBCU, and he will speak a little bit about EBCU and the organisation. So over to you, Bo.
Thank you, Brett. I hope you can hear me, all of you, and buongiorno Italy. It's going to be a very interesting evening as well. The EBCU is all about networking and connecting people in the beer world. My name is Bo Jensen, and I've been the chairman of EBCU for almost 4 years now. I've been in the executive for almost 11-ish something. I've got when it started. But EBCU, European Beer Consumers Union, the union is something about the national organizations all over Europe. We are the umbrella organizations and representing two delegates from each organization on national level. And I also see some delegates here, Mark from Mercedes and all that kind of thing. So, of course, this umbrella organization also do have a big network in the beer industry as well. And we got network with a lot of knowledge of everything. So for some times ago, we got the idea to try to share this knowledge and best practice and all that kind of things on EBCU level. The executive was set down a small group, and Brett is running that group as well, together with some other guys. And we found out some actually good ideas to tell about some different beers. Like the last one was the German Gose. So actually I went last week to hunt it down in Germany. That was a good tour. How we end up in Bamberg, that's another story. But now the idea of the Italian grape ale, it's, some will say a new thing in the beer world. I'm also a beer judge, so we have seen it for a few years now. But to get into the bits and pieces about this is all about our network in European beer consumers. Also, I'll put a word on about our webpage. We have about all these different beer styles. We have on our webpage, we have an updated document about beers in Europe, and I hope you'll join that one as well. It started from Andrea Brunsberg from Finland and Tim Webb from UK. And there's a lot of information in that document, of course, so please go to our webpage. So maybe I even know if the corner of this Italian grape ale is on that, but we are working on it. It's a live document. It's updating or when we got to new knowledge about it. But now back to this evening's event, and I'll be here the most of the night. I have to go at 9 o'clock, but that's another story. if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat, and I'll answer them on behalf of EBCU as well. And then I'll go back to Brett, and then you'll introduce the other people from tonight. And welcome all of you on behalf of EBCU.
Yeah. Thanks, Bo, and welcome to everyone. I'm going to hand over to you now, Simone. You have got the co-host controls, so you should be able to do everything from there. And I'd ask everyone to, if you're raising a beer, an Italian grape ale, or in my case, an English perry, which is made from pears, Simone. So I'll hand over to you, and have a lovely evening.
Cheers. My one is Ls from 50/50 Brewery. It's my first beer. And the second one will be BB7 from Barley. I don't know. Here we go. Which is an Italian grape ale with Vermentino. So, hello everyone. Welcome. How are you doing? Cheers, first of all. I see a lot of friends. Edu. Ciao, Edu. Nicola, Vicky. I want to thank Union Birrai and EBCU for this opportunity. Thank you also, Brett and Bo. I'm very glad to be here with all these friends. And with me today will be Tony Manzi. Ciao, Tony.
Hi.
Who will
hi,
help us?
everyone.
He helped us with the translation, because we will have a little interview with Nicola Perra, the brewery from Barley Brewery. And then we have an interview with a speech by Gianriccardo Corbo, and some questions with one of the three breweries that won the gold medal at Birra dell'Anno 2022 in IGA category. But given the number of the guests, I suggest to start. And let me introduce you Giuseppe Lio. Ciao, Giuseppe.
Hi, everyone. Ciao a tutti.
Which is an Union Birrai beer taster. Me as well. And also BJCP graduate. Giuseppe, together with Matteo Davoli, has prepared a small presentation to give you some background information on Italian grape ale style, Italian grape beers. So, Giuseppe, it's your turn.
Okay, so I'll start sharing my screen. I hope that you can see it. Just a moment. Sorry, I think that the host has to authorize me sharing my screen, because now it is disabled.
Okay, I'll do that now.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, but it still says that it is disabled.
Now you are the co-organizer.
I'm okay, maybe now. Sorry, just one moment.
Giuseppe, if it doesn't work, we can start with Nicola.
I think that maybe now it can go. Just one moment. Okay. Sorry, just one moment. If you want to start with Nicola, it's fine, because I don't understand. Just one second. I'll try again one more time, otherwise.
Yeah, no problem. Okay.
Okay, sorry
Here
for
we
the
go.
delay. I just had some small issues, but now it should be okay. So I have prepared just a quick introduction about Italian grape ales together with Matteo Davoli. And to start, I think that it is important to give just a quick data about wine and beer in Italy. In 1921, as we can see, wine consumption has been of 127 liters per capita, and the beer consumption has been just 1 liter per capita. So nobody used to drink beer in Italy at that time. But in 2021, the situation has been very different. Wine is 33 liters per capita and beer 36. So why this is important, we can see later. So why making grape ales and why making grape ales in Italy? There can be many reasons. First of all, as we have seen before, Italy is the country that has the highest wine diversity. It has more than 80 grape varieties, more than any other country in the world. Just to give a quick look, Portugal, which is second, has 40, and France has only 15. So a lot of wine diversity. And this is important because making beer with grapes can provide a link with a specific region, a territory, because in Italy, as we know, when we make beer, often there is not a great link with territory because we buy hops, we buy malt outside. Almost never malts and hops are made in the region, but grapes are something that is very regional. So it can provide a link with the territory. And as we saw, Italy has a great also a scene, very lively, young, but very lively, with a lot of great breweries. So it can be useful and it can be nice to catch the best of both those scenes. Okay, just to give a quick look at the history of grape ales. It seems that the first one who tried to make grape ales in 1973 was Jean-Pierre Van Roy, that saw this old advertising sign of a grape lambic, and he tried to reproduce this beer. But he took a lot to achieve a good result. And after was born what the beer that now we know as Vigneron. After that beer, another followed, Saint Lamvinus. Both are beer that are still in production, and we can say that those were the first grape ale of which we have we are aware. But to go back to Italy, because we are talking about Italian grape ales, so the first one who tried to make grape ales in Italy has been Teo Musso, the owner of Birrificio Baladin, who produced this grape ale called Noel Perbacco from 2000 to 2002. But he decided not to sell this beer, not to commercialize it, because maybe he thought it didn't have great appeal on the market, or he just wanted to to use only for a special occasion. Indeed, this beer was never put on the market. He just took it for himself, his friends, and for special tastings and other occasions. And we come to the real first Italian Grape Ale. In 2006, Nicola Perra, who will speak after, so I beg your pardon, Nicola, if I will say something that is not really exact, you will correct me. He founded this brewery in a small town near Cagliari in Sardinia, and he liked to experiment with many ingredients of his territory, and he decided to use this maybe can seem a strange ingredient to make beer, which is called the sapa. Sapa is grape must cooked at a very slow temperature for many hours, 20 or more hours. And it is very thick, it is very sweet, and it is used as it is or to make cakes or dessert. But Nicola wanted to try to use this ingredient in a beer. So he created the real first Italian Grape Ale that was put on the market and sold, and that is enjoyed also right now, called BB10, made with Cannonau Sapa. Sardinia has a great also variety of grape must, so he could make a lot of grape ales with a lot of grape varieties. Other beers of the series BB were born, as we see after. And lately he started also to make grape ales, not only with the sapa, so cooked mass, but also with the raw mass. Yes, someone has a question? Sorry, I don't know if, oh, sorry. I don't know if I can see the chat right now, but if Joseph, if you want to ask, please tell me. I don't know, he raised the hand, but I can't hear nothing. So maybe he will ask me the question after. So just a quick look at how the Italian grape ales are in the BJCP. I know that Gianriccardo will speak about this more in deep after. So just a quick look. Italian grape ales were added to the BJCP in 2015 to the guidelines as a local style. So not part of the main style, but only as a local style. In the 2021, grape ales without Italian were added in the category of fruit beers, so category 29. And this means that in this category, grapes must not be Italian. They can be grapes of every country in the world. And Italian grape ales are still in the category X3 as a local style. But what I really wanted to point out about the classification of Italian grape ales in the BJCP is that here I just summarized some quick points, but the thing that I think it is important is that the boundaries that the BJCP gives are really light. It doesn't give some strict boundaries. It is said that it is a beer that can be refreshing or it can be more complex. No real boundaries are given here. The thing that I think it is important is that the beer character must not be overpowered by the grape character. So this beer must be still a beer. It must not be something that is a wine or like a wine. Okay. And this brings us to say that Italian Grape Ale are a style that has a lot of possibilities, that gives the brewer a great space, a great freedom of initiative, of inventive. The brewer can play with a lot of variables to make a beer that is the beer that he wants and that he likes to make. Starting from the grape must, it can be used in many different ways: raw, cooked, as we saw, sometimes fermented, sometimes concentrated. The quantity can be very small or can be a lot. It can be added in fermentation, but someone adds during the boiling phase. So here, a great range of possibilities, but not only by the grape, also by the yeast. You can use normal Saccharomyces ale yeast, you can use wild yeast, or even you can use the yeast that lies on the grape skin, as if you were effectively making a wine, we can say. And even the hops, Italian grape ales are not a hop-centric style, we can say, but also hops can play an important role here. There is also someone who uses Chardonnay as you were making a lambic. So this is to say that every brewer that makes Italian grape ales has a great space to experiment, a great space to make the beer which is the one that he thinks is the one he wants to make. And this for this reason that I think that the BJCP has given just a few boundaries, very light, to define the style. Okay. Just a quick introduction. I have finished. I hope I have been clear, and I give the word to the next speaker. Just 1 second. Okay, sorry. I'm not really.
Is there any question meanwhile?
Yeah. Okay. Stop share. Okay. Sorry about the delay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and there is a question, Giuseppe.
Yeah.
Could you see the chat by Iona?
Ah, the chat. Yes, sure.
Are there any producers blending wine and beer post fermentation to create a grape ale?
Honestly, no. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. But it would seem quite strange to me, because the grapes can give the contribution to the beer if they are used fermenting together with the beer mast. So it's
no,
illegal.
in Italy,
okay.
in Italy it's illegal. We cannot blend wine with beer. Not only wine, other alcohol. Well, Gianriccardo later on can speak about that. It's not legal.
Okay. I don't know about any book about grape ales, honestly. But if someone has a book to suggest, I am very happy to know that.
Me know as well. So if we don't have any more questions, okay. Simone, there is also Simone Monetti. Ciao, Simone. Yeah, Italian law doesn't admit adding alcohol to finish the beer. If is not any more question, we can pass to the first guest, which is Nicola Perra from Barley Brewery. Ciao, Nicola. How are you?
Hello to everyone.
Straight out from brewery. And Tony Manzi help us with the translation. We prepare some question for Nicola. Tony.
Simone, there is actually a last question for Giuseppe. It's Frank Christian.
Sorry.
I don't see.
Is it possible for IGA expert to taste out the grape variety? I think it is possible. Maybe not only to IGA expert, but mainly to wine expert. Maybe I think it is possible for sure. Yes.
In my opinion, that is the focus that has that the one IGA has to reach. Spot the grape variety from the beer is the target, in my opinion.
Okay.
Let's go, Tony.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hi. Good evening. And hi, Nicola. Ciao, Nicola. I will translate the interview that was actually made by Simone, actually. And I'm gonna read his questions, maybe make some of mine, and translate for everyone in English. I will make the Italian questions to Nicola, and then I will translate the questions. Just asking Nicola if he can slow down sometimes and stop so I can translate. Nicola, se ogni tot nelle risposte ti fermi un secondo così posso tradurre la tua risposta anche parziale.
Puoi aumentare un attimino il volume, ti sento poco. Una voce un pochino più...
Metto il microfono un po' più vicino forse.
Ok.
Ok, mi senti meglio adesso?
Sì.
Benissimo, ok. Dicevo che farò la domanda sia in inglese che in italiano e quando tu darai la risposta, se a ogni tot frase, insomma, ti fermi così io posso tradurre e riprendere.
Ok.
Grazie. Thank you. Okay, so we can start the interview. You all know Nicola Pera from his Sardinian brewery, and he does lovely, delicious beers. And he, as Simone said and Giuseppe said, he is famous in Italy for his beers, and especially the Italian grape ales that he actually made before they were called so. So the first question is that if Nicola can just explain us a little bit of history of his brewery. Nicola, ci fai fare una breve introduzione del tuo birrificio?
Sì, allora, innanzitutto ciao a tutti, anche in italiano. Il birrificio l'abbiamo fondato con Isidoro Magia nel 2005, abbiamo iniziato la produzione nel 2006 e fin dalla prima produzione abbiamo introdotto, diciamo, 3 birre della linea base, Fisca, Tocco Stella del Diavolo, e 2 mesi dopo, appena dopo la prima vendemmia, cioè la prima vendemmia di quell'anno lì, abbiamo iniziato producendo la sappa di Canonau con la BB10. E poi da lì abbiamo introdotto altre birre da linea base e piano piano, già dal 2008, ne abbiamo introdotto un'altra, la BB Evo con la sappa di Nasco, su base Barley Wine, poi nel 2010 la B9 con la sappa di Malvasia e così via. Insomma, siamo arrivati ad un punto in cui, magari parliamo dopo, ma insomma le birre sono diventate parecchie di tutta la gamma, in particolare su ormai 20 che abbiamo in gamma fissa, 12 sono fatte con il mosto cotto, mosto fresco, di uve da vitigni autoctoni sardi, 8 vitigni autoctoni sardi, perché su alcuni uvaggi faccio delle lavorazioni su più birre, come ad esempio il nasco che viene utilizzato su 3 birre diverse e il vermentino su 2 birre diverse. Quindi Vitigno Cocktail Sardi,
Okay.
visto che...
Mi fermerei un secondo, Nicola, così posso tradurre, se no perdo il filo.
Prego, prego, prego.
Grazie, scusatemi. Okay, so the brewery started in 2006, and just after like a couple of months after the first beer was released, that was called Sella del Diavolo, just after 2 months after the brewery started, Nicola began to use a SAPA that everybody saw in Giuseppe's presentation. That is that reduction of the wine must, and so was the BB10. That's the name of the beer was born. And after that, a lot of other beers with grapes, with must or SAPA continued. And in 2008, they made a barley wine with SAPA. And in 2010, they used another type of SAPA that was made from Malvasia grapes. And since then, the brewery now has almost 20 beer references, with 12 of them are made with grapes, and are made with cooked must or raw must. And some of them are made even with other type of grapes. All of them are made from local specific Sardinian grapes. And the last one was made with Vermentino. Okay, Nicola. You want to continue, Nicola, or was that your
Sì,
risposta?
sì.
Ok, vai, puoi andare. Okay.
Ti ho perso per 2 secondi, cioè un fermo immagine. Ok, sì. Quindi praticamente, come dicevo prima, la BB10 fu la prima su una base di Imperial Stout. Ovviamente fu anche quella, così come la BB Evo, cioè le prime 2 con cui uscimmo in maniera più o meno consapevole. Lo dico perché entrambe, sia la BB10 che la BB Evo, sono il risultato di una sperimentazione molto pre-apertura del birrificio. Stiamo parlando dei primissimi anni 2000, intorno al 2001-2002, una roba del genere, quando sperimentando le altre ricette, appunto, partì con la SAPA di uve bianche per quella che poi è diventata la BB10. La SAPA di uve bianche però non mi dava su una ricetta di Imperial Stout, non essendoci anche una bibliografia, diciamo così, da cui attingere, non mi dava la certezza di fare le cose per bene, nel senso che avevo scelto la SAPA perché è un materiale sì fermentabile, pensavo che potesse essere un materiale fermentabile utile nella birra. Non era una cosa nuova perché era presa a prestito dalla nostra pasticceria tradizionale, quindi si utilizza da secoli, non da decenni, in vari appunto dolci, e alla fine della vendemmia si fa appunto il mosto cotto, no? di vari uvaggi. Ovviamente non sapevo ancora che si potesse abbinare a una ricetta di malti o al contrario, magari abbinare una ricetta di malti di lupoli all'uvaggio per far emergere il più possibile appunto l'uvaggio. Lo capii casualmente, sempre nella fase sperimentale, passando a utilizzare il Canonau, sempre su una ricetta Imperial Stout, ok? Col Canonau, facendo ancora una volta un affinamento in bottiglia di diversi mesi, perché era una birra che facevo, poi tra virgolette, dimenticavo, insomma le assaggiavo nel tempo, ma poi le dimenticavo per qualche mese. E lì mi accorsi della differenza, diciamo, di risultato utilizzando appunto la SAPA di un uvaggio che potesse, con l'affinamento in bottiglia, rendere più giustizia a quella ricetta di malti lupoli. Tony non lo vedo più, non
ecco,
so se sia ancora...
sono
Okay,
quasi.
benissimo.
Ok, allora aspetta che
Se vuoi...
sei andato molto oltre. Okay, so the first beer where they started was an Imperial Stout, and it was called BB10. And but in the these beers made with grapes and with sapa were not. Can you hear me? Can you all hear me? Okay. Maybe someone has the microphone open because I hear someone something inside. Okay, so Nicola said that these beers that were made when the can you hear me? Can you all hear me? Yes. Okay. So these beers were made for were not made at that moment, but are the results of long experimenting that Nicola made by himself at the beginning of 2000, and he made he made these beers experimenting with the sapa, and because the sapa was a raw material that is not new. It's an ancient material that is used from 1,000 years. And so what Nicola thought was trying to use this material as a fermentable material. And the thing was that there were no references for this experimentation. There were no books, there was no literature about this experimentation. So he was just very experimenting with this kind of ingredient that he did not invent, actually, because it was taken from local traditions of making sweets, of making cakes or biscuits and things like that. And so what he did was to make several beers, experimenting with these beers, and just bottling it, and then just forgetting these beers for months and months. And when he tried these beers again, he could notice that the more he experimented, the more he discovered that you can get all of the grape centers outside from the grapes into the beer. Ok, Nicola.
Ok, allora a quel punto capì che la scelta della sapa di nasco per un barley wine poteva essere una scelta azzeccata su una birra da 10 gradi per la BBVO, così poi appunto come fu introdotta in birrificio, perché scelsi un vitigno che normalmente è utilizzato per un vino liquoroso da dopo pasto, il nasco appunto, l'omonimo vino fortemente longevo, e quindi insomma poteva andare d'accordo, anche se è un'uva bacca gialla, ma poteva andare decisamente d'accordo con una ricetta di barley wine dove tra l'altro tra le altre cose ci sono anche la mandorla dolce, la mandorla amara come descrittore dell'uva, che potevano andare veramente d'accordo con una ricetta di barley wine. Anche lì lunga finamente in bottiglia, perché la sapa non emerge fino a subito. Mi accorsi che aveva senso utilizzare la sapa solo a questa condizione di questo lungo affinamento, e continuai la sperimentazione. Ovviamente non si parlava di IGA, quindi era una sperimentazione per puro, come dire, piacere personale nel nel cercare nuovi orizzonti del gusto dati da un elemento caratterizzante, come si dice, cioè l'uva, che potesse esprimersi al meglio. Quindi continuai appunto con altri uvaggi, sempre con la sapa, quindi come in forma di mosto cotto, con altre ricette. Malvasia di Bosa, anche lì è una malvasia fortemente longeva, quella appunto che diventa poi vino, molto molto particolare, diversa dalla malvasia bianca che poi ho utilizzato come mosto fresco malvasia di Cagliari, perché sono diciamo due cloni diversi, però della stessa specie varietale, che secoli fa furono introdotti in Sardegna, uno nel Capidano, appunto per la Malvasia bianca di Cagliari, e l'altro in Planargia, quindi nella zona del Bosano, diciamo per gli amici non italiani, a metà della Sardegna, costa ovest, come, diciamo, come latitudine. Ecco. Anche lì quindi nacque la BB9, anche questa appunto con un affinamento di bottiglia di diversi mesi, cui poi seguirono altre birre con altre ricette, da Bon Blanche con la Sappa di Nasco alla BB anniversario su base Scotch, Strong Ale o Tocca del Mezzo con la Sappa di Nasco. Dopodiché, non so Tony se vuoi iniziare a tradurre, perché poi c'è il passaggio, diciamo, all'utilizzo dei mosti freschi trattati in maniera, diciamo, particolare.
Sì, ok.
Direi,
okay. Sì, direi di tradurre e poi di passare all'altra parte.
Stiamo parlando di 16 anni di cammino, insomma, quindi sintetizzarli non è semplicissimo.
Ok, I'll translate. So we're talking about this part.
Solo nel birrificio, ovviamente.
Yeah, there's going to be a second part that's gonna he's gonna talk about all the grapes and how they're going to be used. So when Nicola started these beers, what happened that he was aware of the fact that using Sapa was had a sense only if these kind of beers were aged somehow aged. It didn't have sense otherwise using the Sapa, and so that's how the first Igas or his Igas were brewed and were made. And so obviously there was no literature. Obviously there was no IGAs in any place. There was no name, and so what he was doing, he was just experimenting, almost for himself, because there was no literature. But what he was trying to do, he was trying to do something, a sort of revolutionary thing that was trying to find different flavors to add to the beer and to get specific characteristics to the beer. And that was his goal. His goal was to get the grapes inside of the beer and make new flavors with the same beer. And so he started experimenting with a lot of grapes in Sardinia. And a special one was Malvasia ribosa, because these kind of musts from these kind of grapes have a long life, and they are made even for some alcoholic and liquor preparations that are used in like after lunch, after dinner to drink. And so he continued to experiment, and that's how other kind of beers with other malt bases were born in his brewery. He used an imperial stout, and he used even a blanche, and he made a special edition of the BB that used different kind of grapes, and that's how everything has started and evolved till now. Okay, Nicola?
Ok, allora, circa 7 anni fa, se non ricordo male, mi era venuta in mente l'idea di fare un salto, utilizzare il mosto fresco, non più solo il mosto cotto, ma il mosto fresco per altre birre, utilizzando come base un'uva aromatica, in maniera tale da far emergere ancora di più i descrittori dell'uva, e quindi puntai l'attenzione sul moscato di Cagliari, con la BB7. Un mosto trattato in maniera, diciamo così, tecnologica, con aiuto ovviamente non solo dell'enologo, del grande enologo della cantina a cui mi appoggio, Cantina Argiolas, ma appunto sposando appunto questa esigenza di far emergere il più possibile i descrittori. La vera sfida era far uscire quello che caratterizza il moscato in una birra, pur rimanendo birra. Quindi sempre lieviti da birra, ma in questo caso il grande salto è stato anche l'utilizzo di lieviti da vino. Io utilizzo il coinoculo di lieviti da birra in tante birre base, ancora prima, da 8-10 anni, adesso non ricordo più, ma insomma da diversi anni. Però nel caso del mosto di moscato da utilizzare nel BV7 scelsi di utilizzare anche un lievito che andasse dritto sul varietale, quindi un lievito studiato per le uve aromatiche, quindi far venire fuori, che so, il melone, la pesca gialla, tutte le caratteristiche tipiche, un po' di frutta esotica che normalmente si ha nel nostro moscato di Cagliari. Il risultato è stato effettivamente molto interessante, oltre che sorprendente, perché ovviamente non avendo fatto sperimentazioni precedenti, effettivamente sono venute fuori tutte queste caratteristiche. Grazie a un mosto lavorato a partire dalla vendemmia, con una scelta opportuna della vendemmia, quindi una gradazione saccharometrica adeguata, un'acidità altrettanto adeguata, una buona acidità in maniera tale che poi la birra stessa avesse anche le gambe lunghe, così come succede nel vino moscato, specie in quelli che si scelgono magari vinificati in secco, quindi dei bianchi da pasto strutturati e insomma importanti. Premetto che a me piacciono molto il moscato giallo, ad esempio del Sud Tirol, insomma di quelle zone lì dove effettivamente sono dei vini straordinari. Quindi volevo riproporre praticamente tutta la ricchezza di un'uva così aromatica, quindi con una vendemmia opportuna. È molto importante questo, cioè lavorare sulla materia prima ancora prima che sia materia prima da utilizzare nella birra. Sembra uno scioglilingua, ma la vendemmia è fondamentale. Quindi con la cantina ci siamo messi d'accordo sul fatto che la vendemmia dovesse essere fatta a freddo. Loro fortunatamente tecnologicamente sono molto avanzati, quindi fanno una vendemmia a 8 gradi. Voi sapete ovviamente che una volta che viene vendemmiata l'uva incomincia a fermentare subito. Se ci sono 30 e passa gradi, come succede da noi ai primi di settembre, perché quello era il periodo più adatto per quel tipo di vendemmia, bisogna preservare il più possibile gli aromi primari dell'uva e portarli in azienda, in lavorazione, nelle condizioni migliori possibili di freschezza, in maniera tale che poi questa freschezza ce la troviamo e questa ricchezza di aromi ce la troviamo come aromi secondari di fermentazione. Questo era l'obiettivo, questo siamo riusciti a ottenere fortunatamente, perché la concentrazione del mosto fresco, quindi mosto fresco non tal quale, ma una volta deraspato veniva appunto pigiato e il mosto fiore veniva messo in concentrazione. Viene tuttora una tecnica che applichiamo poi per tutti gli altri mosti freschi, a 24 gradi. A 24 gradi si ha la concentrazione, quindi sottovuoto, a 24 gradi. In questo modo riusciamo a preservare tutti gli aromi senza alcun trattamento chimico, senza la soffittazione, ma conservando il mosto una volta ottenuto così concentrato, solo al freddo. Lo teniamo a 5 gradi di temperatura fino al giorno della cotta. Tony.
Ok, stavo per
altrimenti continuo,
No. Ok, so
no, perché scusami se ti interrompo sul nascere, ma correggimi se sbaglio, se racconto qualcosa di tecnico magari può essere più interessante, nel senso che per far capire la progettualità della birra, oltre che della linea, ok? Cioè ogni birra è un progetto a sé.
Okay, so Nicola was telling me that it's very important this technical part, because what he wants to make you all understand is all the process that he went through to get all the aromas from the grapes into the beer and still call it a beer. So let's get it again from the beginning. 7 years ago, the brewery used fresh must, and what he decided to do was to try a kind of grapes that was very aromatic, And he decided to try grapes that's called Moscato di Cagliari. It's Moscato from Cagliari, to make a beer that's called BB7. And so the challenge here was to get into the beer all the aromas of this kind of grapes, and it could be recognizable inside the beer. And so it was very important to catch all the characteristics of this grape and put it into the beer, so to feel every sensations from the grapes. And so the first thing that he thought that he had to do was to use to also use wine yeast, especially wine yeast that is used for these kind of wines that are a little bit drier, and they have a lot of fruit aromas. So this kind of grapes and with this kind of yeast has to produce what the aromas, the fruit aromas that was produced in the wine. So you have to have melon kind of hints, yellow peaches kind of hints, exotic fruit kind of hints. All of this are in the Moscato of Cagliari, and all of these hints Nicola wanted to put it in this beer, and had to be recognizable. So the results were very interesting and surprising. And what he did was to involve the winemakers in all this process, because to get all these aromas, you have to deal with who works with the grapes, and you have to know at which temperature and how to preserve every kind of hints of these grapes to take it in the beer. So the process is very complex, and you have to talk with the winemakers, because they have to harvest the grapes in a certain moment where there's a certain acidity and there's a certain freshness, and it sure has to be at the freshest and the fresh temperature possible, because in Sardinia in September, when it's time to harvest the grapes, it's still very hot. And so when it is very hot, as soon as you get the grapes from the vine, the fermentation process starts. So as soon as the more it's hot, the more fast the fermentation process starts. So it's very important to have the harvesting at a certain temperature and preserve this temperature in the canteen. And so this temperature was spotted in 8 degrees Celsius, 8 gradi Celsius, vero Nicola?
Sì, sì, sì.
Okay. 8 Celsius. And the grapes has to get to the canteen at 8 Celsius grade, and then has to be worked inside to create the fresh must, that's the mosto fiore, and that has to be used in the beer as fresh as possible. So no much more than 24 Celsius degrees. And ok, ci siamo.
Ok, quindi allora premetto che questa tecnica della vendemmia a freddo ovviamente non è fatta apposta per noi, ma è ovviamente un brevetto della cantina, anche piuttosto costoso, che loro applicano per la vendemmia del Termentino, che è il vino bianco più utilizzato e più famoso della Sardegna, vino bianco sardo più famoso al mondo, nel senso perché effettivamente è un vino che punta molto sulla freschezza. Quindi diciamo, affidandomi a questo tipo di vendemmia con i cassoni refrigerati fino a quando appunto non arriva in azienda, per me era il modo migliore per puntare alla freschezza in maniera maniacale, oserei dire, fino a che non si poteva ottenere il mosto poi da concentrare. Tenete conto che, giusto per gli amici che magari non sono al corrente di questo tipo di lavorazione, premetto che da un quintale d'uva, ad esempio vermentino o moscato, no, più vermentino, insomma, si ottengono circa 50-55 litri di mosto, moscato un pochino meno perché è un pochino più carico di zuccheri, scendiamo già a 50 o poco meno litri di mosto appena spremuto per ogni quintale di uva. Da questo, una volta concentrato, abbiamo un quinto rispetto al volume iniziale, quindi 10 litri e mezzo di mosto finale, ok, concentrato a freddo. Ma anche la sapa ho puntato ad avere questo tipo di parametri. Prima facevamo 1 a 4, adesso siamo a una da qualche anno ormai 1 a 5. Questo perché? Perché punto innanzitutto a non rischiare assolutamente una fermentazione, una partenza di fermentazione neanche quando letteralmente vado a caricare il furgone in cantina con tutti i tank da 50 litri ciascuno, facendo vari viaggi con tutti i vitigni, perché ovviamente facciamo il carico una alla volta, perché c'è tutta la fase burocratica che deve affrontare la cantina, quindi la chiusura dei registri, è una cosa noiosissima, però purtroppo ecco, ci dobbiamo imbattere anche in questa burocrazia stringente. Una volta portati i mosti in birrificio siamo al sicuro, perché abbiamo la cella fredda ormai dedicata praticamente solo ai mosti freschi e alla conservazione dei lieviti per i 2 birrifici, peraltro, quasi tutti per i 2 birrifici. Quindi a 5 gradi noi siamo tranquilli che i mosti non partiranno nella loro eventuale fermentazione spontanea, perché comunque ovviamente i microrganismi presenti nelle bucce sono presenti ancora in questi mosti, quindi potrebbero prendere il sopravvento nella fermentazione. Ovviamente noi facciamo in modo che non accada, perché utilizziamo lieviti selezionati, e quindi questa lotta, diciamo, al cibo della fermentazione devono vincere ovviamente i lieviti selezionati di birra, lieviti da birra e da vino. Ok, poi vado avanti con l'esplorazione.
Ok,
se vuoi...
sì, abbiamo un po' i tempi ristretti, quindi poi magari passiamo anche alle altre domande, siamo un po' stretti, magari
okay.
riusciamo a sintetizzare. I was telling Nicola we have a time schedule a little bit strict, so we have to be a little bit more synthetic. So what he did to preserve the grape must for the fermentation, for the beer making, was using big refrigerated cases, and he chose these cases almost like a maniac. Like it had to be very specific and very useful and very effective. So they found these big cases, and they started to harvest the grapes and started to use the grapes. And average, it was from like 100 kilos of Vermentino grapes. The average the must you can make from that is like 50 to 55 liters. With a Moscato type of grape, it's a little bit less than that because of the sugars inside. But we can say that if you preserve the must correctly, you should have a ratio from the grapes, 100 kilos grapes, and the liters that you can take out from them once they're crushed, that it should be like 1 to 5. And so even making Sapa, after a lot of experimentation, the ratio just went to 1 to 5. And after that, he experimented and find out that the best way to preserve the must from his breweries. He has now fresh rooms almost dedicated almost entirely at this process. And the process is to have the must at 5 degrees, not more than 5 degrees Celsius. And that way you can be sure that no fermentation, no wild fermentation is going to go, because all of the compounds from the fermentation has to go into the beer, and you have to get into the beer all the compounds that you want to, and not the ones that you do not want to. And so 5 degrees are sure the best way to preserve this and to make the yeast, the wine yeast, work properly on these fermentations. Simone Uras, do you have any questions? I think. Il microfono, the mic, Simone.
Okay. Apologies. There's a question by Diego Peñas for Nicola. How is the sterilization method for the must with temperature or metabisulfite, for example? Nico, ti chiede Diego Peñas come sterilizzi il mosto, se attraverso la temperatura o ad esempio con metabisulfito.
No, assolutamente niente bisulfito. Non voglio rischiare di portare anche dei composti solforati in fermentazione, anche se in bassissimo dosaggio, chi lo sa, meglio non rischiare, per come la penso io ovviamente, ma l'unico conservante è il freddo, partendo, come dicevo prima, da una concentrazione elevatissima di zuccheri, che quindi già di per sé scoraggiano la partenza di una fermentazione spontanea, perché stiamo partendo da mosti che magari hanno 22-23 babo come densità iniziale, fino ai 27 e oltre ad esempio del moscato. Una volta concentrati la concentrazione è ancora enormemente superiore e quindi questo ci consente una ragionevole tranquillità, ormai testata, perché sono, come dicevo, circa 7 anni che utilizzo i mosti freschi in alcune ricette, da 7 anni in avanti, insomma. Poi BB6 con la malvasia, altra uva aromatica e fortemente zuccherina, su cui si applica la stessa tecnica, poi vermentino, nuragus e anche canonau, che lo stesso parte comunque da concentrazioni zuccherine elevate.
Ok, scusate, sorry.
Non so se Tony vuole tradurre.
Sì, ti ho perso per un breve momento. Se ti posso chiedere la cortesia di ripetere la risposta.
Sì, sì, allora niente bisulfito, concentrazione elevatissima proprio perché basti la conservazione a freddo, quindi concentrazione elevata e conservazione a freddo a 5 gradi, in maniera tale da scongiurare la partenza di fermentazioni spontanee.
Okay, so the answer in the starting was that he doesn't use no metabisulfite or any other chemical compounds to sterilize the must, because the concentration and the temperature at 5 degrees, it's just alone, it does the work that has to do to make the must still and don't have any fermentation or wild things in it. So the 5 degrees can assure that. The next question that I wanted to make to Nicola, la prossima domanda che volevo farti, Nicola, is a last little technical question that we were wondering.
Tony, chiuso il microfono.
Tony, non ti sentiamo.
Ok, mi sentite adesso?
Sì.
Sì.
Ok. Allora, scusate. Ok, mi sentite?
Sì.
Sì, sì.
Okay. La domanda che ti volevo fare, allora, sei passato dalle prime produzioni in cui la componente aromatica dell'uvaggio era giustamente la risultante, questo l'abbiamo detto fino adesso, e ovviamente anche un lungo affinamento delle produzioni, insomma, in cui si è riuscito a conservare gli aromi primari dell'uvaggio. Quanto incidono invece gli altri ingredienti utilizzati nel prodotto finale? You have product many beers with the grape and the aromatic part of the grapes that were very overwhelming in the beer, that were very clear in the beers, and it's a result of the process of making the beer and of aging the beer. But the question now is, how much do other ingredients contribute to all the system of creating a beer, an IGA?
Allora, la ricetta di una IGA, a mio modesto avviso, deve essere un lavoro di squadra. Quindi tutto imperniato attorno all'elemento caratterizzante che è appunto l'uva. Questo frutto particolare che ha una varietà enorme nello stivale, oltretutto soprattutto nell'isola. Pensate che ad esempio solo in Sardegna abbiamo più uvaggi che nell'intera Francia. Quindi è chiaro che rendere giustizia a un elemento caratterizzante che si sceglie di utilizzare nella propria ricetta è quantomeno doveroso, insomma, oltre che è molto divertente come risultato finale. Quindi i lupuli vengono scelti tra quelli aromatici, ma che non diano delle derive in termini di amaro, in termini resinosi, in maniera, diciamo così, molto spinta come risultato sulla birra, perché non interpreterebbe appunto l'uvaggio. Stessa cosa per i lieviti. Io adesso sto degustando una birra che ha 6 gradi, che si chiama Verblonde, con il mosto fresco di Vermentino. Non ha la benché minima traccia di ossidazione, ma ha 2 anni in bottiglia. Una birra da 6 gradi, renderla così resistente non è una cosa semplice. Quindi l'importante è che sia facile da bere, ricca, divertente. Ma la parte più ostica è mantenere questa freschezza nel tempo, e a mio avviso bisogna puntare molto, oltre che sulla parte proprio di birrificazione di base, sulla diciamo difesa, bisogna puntare quindi a preservare tutti gli aromi dell'uva il più possibile, e quindi il mosto quando verrà fatta la cotta, e a utilizzare anche dei lieviti che la proteggano, perché l'attività antiossidante dei lieviti è fondamentale. Ho scoperto negli anni che è fondamentale anche l'utilizzo dei lieviti da vino in questo tipo di protezione. Peraltro il discorso anche della percezione degli aromi si ha maggiormente se si punta a una secchezza maggiore, cioè un residuo zuccherino molto basso. Questo si può ottenere ovviamente con i lieviti da birra e da vino, ma nella nostra percezione di una secchezza non estrema concorre la produzione di glicerolo, che è una sostanza che viene prodotta naturalmente dai lieviti da vino, anche dai lieviti da vino bianco, in quantità molto interessanti, che rendono la birra morbida. Questa è una birra secchissima che ha appena un plato di residuo finale, residuo zuccherino finale, ma non sembra così secca, proprio perché questa morbidezza è data da dei lieviti da vino, che le conferiscono grande protezione in termini ossidativi, antiossidativi, e ovviamente anche questa morbidezza finale, quindi rende una birra molto piacevole al palato, anche con 6 gradi e un residuo zuccherino che male non fa, perché ha meno calorie, insomma, alla fine. Va bene anche per questo.
Okay, so I'll translate. So the recipe for an IGA is much like a teamwork. Every element should work together to get the final result. And it's obvious that making an IGA or IGA is to have the grape characteristics inside the beer. And especially in Sardinia, where they have so much varieties of grapes that are much more, the varieties that are in Sardinia are all in itself much more in number than in France. And so in a territory like that, you can't make an IGA that doesn't have that doesn't have the grape characteristics inside, the local grapes, especially inside. Even the other ingredients should all work together, and all has to be very, very subtle to the final results. So the hops can be used but not hops that give much bitterness or that are much resinous, that has much resin inside. Even like the beer that he's drinking now, that has only 6 in alcohol volume, is it's a 2-year aged beer in bottle, and it doesn't have any scent of oxidation. And that's very important, because that means that all the ingredients together work together to get the final result. And that means that you have to have a very solid beer base to use to make the IGAs. And it's not only the grapes, but we're talking about the yeast that you have to use. We're talking about the malt base that you have to use. And what Nicola discovered in these years is that the grape aromas come out very much more than other type of beers when the beer has such a dryness character. And that dryness character comes from compounds that are found even in white wines. And you can make it with yeast that gives that kind of dryness. If you think that the beer that Nicola was drinking, that is still drinking now, it has only 1 Plato final, that's what you're trying to look for when you have to make a beer, that kind of dryness. And that kind of dryness can help very a lot to the grape characteristics to come out in a beer. Simone, Uras, I think there are some questions for Nicola.
Yeah, I thank Nicola and ask to the guys if there is any question, or it's all clear. Someone want to make a question to Nicola?
Sì,
Otherwise,
sì, dimmi pure.
No, Nico, chiedevo se qualcuno avesse qualche domanda per te, altrimenti insomma ti ringraziamo per questo intervento. We'll thank you, Nicola, for the interview. Ti invitiamo, se hai voglia di restare. Ecco, Diego Peñas chiede carbonation levels high o low in general?
No, dipende dall'impronta che vuoi dare alla birra. Su birre, diciamo così, dall'impronta decisamente invernale, come tutte quelle fatte con la sapa, perché lì comunque la sapa effettivamente con l'affinamento ci si avvicina verso un'impronta di note più calde. La gradazione alcolica in questo aiuta, le faccio tutte dai 7 gradi su con la sapa fino ai 10 gradi, invece quelle con il mosto fresco dagli 8 in giù fino ai 5 gradi e qualcosa della BB5, che è una saison con il mosto di Nuragus. Quindi la carbonazione lì si sceglie in base al tipo di birra, in base al tipo di carattere che si vuole dare alla birra finale. Quello non è diciamo osteggiante, anzi in quel modo puoi veramente caratterizzare fino in fondo anche questo aspetto qua della birra, sì.
So the carbonation is it's a decision, and it comes from the type of beer you have to make. So Nicola has beers that are made with grapes that are made for an alcohol content more than 10. Other beers are made for an alcohol content less than 8 or 6 and below that. And so that's the first decision that can depend on the carbonation. So definitely that is sure a problem or an issue, or maybe a characteristic that you can work on. So that depends on that kind of type of alcohol level.
Okay. If there are no further questions, I thank Nicola for to be with us and for the time passed with us. And we go through the next guest. Any more questions for Nicola? No? Ok. Nico, grazie mille.
Sono morti nel frattempo.
No, è stato molto interessante, very interesting. Grazie mille, Nico. Thank you so much.
Grazie a voi, spero che questo, diciamo, inizio del approfondimento porti ad una maggiore curiosità da parte di tutti, da parte dei produttori, da parte dei degustatori, da parte dei semplici consumatori, perché a mio avviso questo, diciamo, questo genere di birra, non parliamo neanche di stile, ma questo genere di birra che ha dei tratti fortemente italiani, possa crescere con maggiore consapevolezza da parte, consapevolezza produttiva da parte appunto dei birrai, andando a fondo sulla conoscenza della materia prima, perché a mio avviso tutto parte da lì. A differenza di tutti gli altri stili birrari, in questo caso bisogna partire dalla materia prima e preservarla il più possibile e farla emergere il più possibile. Questo è, diciamo, la mia idea, il mio auspicio. Ecco. Quindi grazie a tutti voi per le domande.
Thank you, Nico. Vai, Tony.
Okay, Nicola thanks everyone for the attention, and what he hopes is that Italian grape ales could be produced from much more breweries in Italy, and especially what he hopes that everyone that's want to produce an IGA has to have an attention for what they're dealing with and what they're handling, the kind of material. So they have to study a lot, and he hopes that everyone studies a lot on the type of grapes and the material. And so that's the only way that you can use the grapes in the way they deserve to be used, and they can be used to make the beer with the qualities of that kind of grapes.
Grazie Nicola, grazie Tony. Stay with us, and
Grazie Tony.
We go through Gianriccardo Corbo. Ciao Ricky.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone.
How are you?
Thank you for the invitation. Fine, thank you. Not drinking a beer, but drinking a Porto wine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
good as well.
Yeah.
Thank you to stay with us, to participate. And Riccardo in 2014 was the BJCP referent for Italy, and he had an idea looking at the market.
Still I am.
Yeah.
Fine.
And you still are. Apologies.
Yep.
And Ricky, would you like to tell us about how the IGA style came about?
Yeah, I will give you an idea of how the IGA style came up in the craft beer world. It's strange because normally also during the competition, we usually taste the beers and judge the beers against some parameters, against the style. So it's always a comparison with the style. In that case, we created the styles, and of course the brewers created the style, made the beers, but of course the craft beer world had to be aware of that style in a way, and that way was publishing the style proposing and publishing the style on the BJCP guideline. That is for sure, it's not the only guideline style that is available in the craft beer world, but it's probably the more recognized style beer guideline. And of course, I'm Italian. I was Italian at that time. Every Italian has a relationship, a deeper relationship, a closer relationship with wine. And it's quite normal for a beer producer or for a person that start producing beer to be in relationship, in a close relationship with wine and grapes in general. Because if you are not, even if your father was not a beer winemaker, for sure your grandfather was. So it's normal, it's a link, and there was no other countries other than Italy, France, maybe some Spain, or more recently, much more recently, US. There is no other country where this study could come up, simply. So I collected at that time in 2014. I collected almost all the IGAs available at that time, and probably there were nearly 20 beers, something like that. Probably I even was not able to collect all beers available because I was not aware how many beers like grape ales were available at that time. But I collected, probably 15, 20 beers. And I decided, and I tried to understand which was the relationship among those beers, create a wording, and I submitted to the BJCP. After 1 year, the study was approved as a provisional style in the 2015 guideline. It was provisional, so not a permanent style, but it was still a recognition from the BJCP, and that fact allowed the beer producer to produce much more IGAs than in the past. So even at that time, the growth was constant in the time. After 2015, the producers started to produce the IGAs, and the production became exponential. And now we have more than 250 IGAs in Italy. Probably there are no more than 250 pills, or there are no more than 250 helles, that just to name some popular styles. But there are more than these numbers, and there are attempts to catalog all these beers. There is also a very important competition, is a really important competition. I'm proud of this competition that is organized by a person that should be present today, is Alessandra Cristini. Is a competition totally dedicated on IGAs, and it is a really an appreciated attempt to make the word, to make adverts on this style. After that year, there was an explosion of that kind of beer in Italy, and also in other parts of the world. Why it's so important to us? It's important because it's a way to link the so-called terroir in French, so the expression of territory, to a product that is normally quite well standardized, unfortunately. Because please allow me to be very basic on that and to simplify the concept, but probably nearly 90-95% of beers are made with the same ingredients. I mean, the same barleys, the same hops, the same yeast, or I mean, same that are commercially available for everyone. So you can produce an IPA in the US and produce the same IPA in Italy and the same IPA in Japan, because the ingredients are exactly the same, or can be exactly the same. Of course, then there is the brewery and the brewers that is still a variable in the way he or she produced that beer, of course, but the ingredients are the same, can be the same. And using local grapes, local varieties, it means let the territory speaks in the beer and differentiate the beers because of the territory character inside the beer. And this is a unique possibility for us, for the beer makers, to have characterize the new way of making beers, characterize the new the Italian scenario and the world scenario with that beer, because simply we can say something new, and maybe it's well known for Italian, I don't know for foreign people, but there are a lot of varieties, as already been said from other speakers, but the same variety in a closer ground, in a different ground, in a different town, with a different exposure to the sun or other elements, makes a different wine or grapes. And it's really important the way you you grow the grapes in the to make a wonderful IGA. So this is it's important for us for that reason. It's a way to export our territory, not only with the wine, but also with the beers. And then we came to the 2021, when the last guidelines were published by BJCP, and there was some complaints with the US, because I had a lot of conferences with BJCP, and they said, okay, it's not probably right that we keep the prefix Italian with the grape ale, because a lot of other countries are producing grape ales. And they say, why? They say because of the variety. If you don't use Italian varieties, you cannot call it Italian grape ale. And who is saying that? Nobody told that. Say that. The Italian doesn't stand for the Italian varieties, because even in Italy, we don't have only Italian variety, but also, for example, French varieties of grapes, but stands for the place where this was born as an established phenomenon. And for the way that Italian brewers produce that beer, rather than the Italian varieties. But they arbitrarily linked the Italian to the varieties. And there was a lot of attempt to say, guys, it's not like that. It's something different. We produce an American IPA here, even if with local ingredients. But if it tastes like Italian, like an American IPA, because we use American hop varieties, it's still an American IPA. We don't call it Italian IPA. And the same should apply to the IGA. But it was not enough. Probably Americans BJCP is really an American forward guideline. It's true, as I said, it's the most recognized, but it's really American focused. So what they have really close to them, it's much more evident of what is farther from them. So they would, in a way, they wanted in a way protect their IGAs, the grape ales, and eliminate at least in one part of the guideline the prefix Italian. So now in the BJCP there is the grape ale and Italian grape ales. What's the difference? They said using Italian grape varieties stands for an IGA, and if you don't use Italian varieties, it's not a grape ale, is an Italian grape ale, but it's just a grape ale. But they also name some Italian grape ales within the grape ales. So there are some confusions. Probably, in my opinion, it is just my opinion, is an attempt to protect the their grape ales. But it's fine like that, no matters. That creates some discussion, maybe made even more advertising to the IGA, and let's try to see that thing from on a positive way. The most important thing is that the numbers are even higher than before, than last year. So every year, much more produce IGA. As I said, we are nearly over 250 beers, at least in Italy, and a lot of attempts outside our borders. There are a lot of articles on the dedicated newspaper. As I said, there is very nice competition on the IGA. it's really great. It's really great. And I don't know where that phenomenon will go, but I'm pretty sure that it will not end. There is a too big relationship between grape and Italians to see that that kind of beer not to be produced anymore, for example, so largely as it is now. That's all more or less in 10 minutes, the story of the IGA. I didn't create anything. I just made the BJCP aware of this style. The brewers deserve all the merit on that.
Thank you, Ricky. Is there any question about that? Otherwise, I have a question. Okay, Ricky, I have a question. Nicola, during his explanation, told us he used grape varieties from Sardinia, very close to the brewery. Do you think how important is the link with the terroir for the future of IGA, and especially for the spread, international spread?
Oh, it's really important. I mean, it's there is no reason, not there is no reason, but there are limited reason to use a grape that is has been harvested 300 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers far from your territory. I would like to see even something more in the future, and I would like to see breweries not only using the local grapes, but when they make beers, but also using local varieties of barley or wheat, because still there is a lot of characterization to push on these ingredients, rather than using the still wonderful but a bit standardized barley malts that are malted in Europe or in the US. So very important, because it means promoting a territory, in my opinion, and it's the key. It's even important for not only for exports, but also for the locals, because locals have the opportunity to taste their grapes and their wine in a different way.
I think it is the key also. And do you think that the category, the boundaries of the category will change again in the future?
In the BJCP, you mean?
Yeah, in the BJCP, and in which way, if you think we will the change it?
I don't know what the BJCP will decide on that. For sure, I will always be present to ensure the presence and what this style deserves from our point of view, and how the study will evolve in the future. Who knows? What I can say is that it's an average discussion, of course. But what I'm seeing is that for example, the alcohol content is narrowing a bit, and really roughly, probably 80%, 70% of IGAs are between 5% alcohol and 7% alcohol. So it's much narrower level of alcohol content. And also looking at the results of some competitions all around the world, and there are some competitions like even at Birra dell'Anno, the Italian one, but some competition abroad like the Brussels Beer Challenge. I'm so proud to see some American breweries or Chinese breweries or some other breweries from abroad winning the gold for the best IGA, because it means that it's recognized, and this is great. What I see from the competition is that the most of the podium are made of beer made with aromatic varieties. Probably aromatic varieties, but not only, works really well in making beers with that. So I'm seeing that it's still young. It's still a young beer because it was only made by Nicola Perra and some other experimental breweries only in the starting from the 2006. So still a lot has to come, and I'm curious to understand, to see how it will become in the future.
Yeah. And there is a question by Edu. How can you fight against this BJCP procedure? Overall, thinking that the BJCP doesn't have a real or big presence in Italy?
Yeah, it's true. They do not have a big presence in general in Europe, other than UK. If we can say that, okay, yes, of course, UK is Europe from a geographical point of view. They have a kind of presence in the UK, but not in the rest of Europe. And this is a limiting factor because they do not have observers in Europe to better understand, even in Germany or in Czech Republic or in France. France is no more an emerging country in the beer; it's a consolidated country now. But they do not have observers to understand the way the European breweries are changing the way to make beers. Or how the styles are changing. So that's the problem. But it's American centered association. And how can fight against that? My idea was to create, for example, a petition that was shared a lot, collecting signatures all around the world, and we collected a lot of signatures to say to the BJCP, please keep the grape ale as Italian, because it was created in Italy, and we deserve it. The petition had some effect, of course, but because the initial idea was to eliminate totally the Italian grape ale as an Italian beer from the BJCP. But really, I don't know how they can ignore that phenomenon from the craft beer market and craft beer world.
Okay, Simone Monetti write that EBCU has a very nice European style guidelines, and I invite all to check it. And
even if there is something wrong written there, real wrong, because it's reported, at least until a few months ago, that it was reported that IGA is made with wine.
Yeah,
and it's not.
And Alessandra Grestini wrote that we also have some low fermented grape beers, grape lagers. Yeah, we have, of course, 50-50 that speak later on, win a category at Birra dell'Anno with an Italian grape lager. Is there any more question for Riccardo?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go, Derek. Ciao, Derek.
Hi.
Hello,
I missed unfortunately the first hour off and on. I was driving back from a festival, so I only heard maybe 5% of what was going on. The thing that worries me, I think your quest is a very important quest. Your goal to have an Italian grape ale as being an international style on its own is wonderful, but how are you actually going to fix and control the difference between, let's say, for example, German grape ale Portuguese grape ale. Can you not only fix the grape varieties being used, but can you also fix and determine the technical characteristics? Are these beers being analyzed? Do you have any particular varieties you're including?
No, there is no attempt to limit that. I personally think that limiting that would be counterproductive. In the wine world, there are a lot of borders, a lot of walls. In order to protect something, this is okay. This is something good for to protect the product, but is also limitation of fantasy, is also limitation of creativity. I personally do not want to say that. I mean, you cannot delete the history, and it will always be known that Italy is the first country where this was born. And if a German or Austrian, a French brewery want to produce that, it's really welcome to get inspiration from what we made, improve it or change it or create something new. So this is my personal view. At the moment, there are no attempts in Italy to protect that. I don't know how to do it. If even I wanted to do it, I don't know how to do it. But I strongly believe that is counterproductive.
I think protect is not the right word. I mean, let's just say you're talking about particular Italian grape varieties. You mentioned earlier that if a grape variety, let's say, came from France or Portugal or some other country, and it's grown and harvested in Italy and used it in an ale,
yep,
then technically it can't be Italian grape ale, or is it just the terroir that determines that?
No, because I said something about that at the beginning of my speech. We link the Italian prefix not to the variety, but to just the country where this was born as a style, and for the way the Italian make beers with grape. No matter if they are Italian varieties or French varieties, because we have it. And also France have Italian varieties, or other countries close to Italy has Italian varieties or as French varieties. So the Italian is linked to the way the Italians started to make beers with grape, rather than from the variety.
So if other brewers use a similar technique with different grapes, I produced 2 beers with a brewery I work for using grapes from Netherlands. We called it Dutch grape ale, and used a Riesling grape most from Germany. We called it German grape ale. But if
you are allowed to do that, of course. What I say is that if you use American hops in a beer fermented with a neutral character in Dutch, in the Netherlands, you still call it American IPA. If you use an aromatic yeast, you maybe still call it Saison. If you and no matter if this was done, if that beer was made in the Netherlands or in Switzerland or in France, you still call it in the way who created that beer, call it, name it. We can say, okay, we started, we were the first to do it. We name it like that. If you do something similar, let's try to name it like that, because it's not linked to the ingredients. It's linked to the country where the style was born.
Would you be against the idea? The Belgians had the same problems. The British had the same problems with their original styles. So let's just say that I was to make a recipe for a local brewery, a couple of kilometers from where I live, and I said, listen, we're going to make an Italian style or Italian inspired grape ale. this is going to happen. No matter what happens, somebody will be doing this for sure. Is that an issue for you? And the thing is, how do you describe that?
I would be happier to see those people name it Italian Grape Ale, but I cannot be. That would not be an issue, even from a legal point of view. There is no protection. Let's say it's not like for the Kolsch beer. It's not like that. For example, you cannot call a beer made like a Kolsch, tasting like a Kolsch, outside of the Cologne area, limited by the law. But it's not at the moment with Italian Grape Ale. Maybe in the future, maybe there will be the necessity and the need to limit that. If, you know, there is also another phenomenon that is the Italian sounding, mainly in the US, but I have to admit that I have no clear position on that, but I'm not against.
What I'm thinking is, what I think is going to happen is, the most important thing that happened is that you brought this into publicity. People now understand that it's a very important and very, it's a matter of pride and a matter of history and tradition in Italy that, let's say, a little less than 20 years ago, the style emerged. What I'm afraid of is I think you will never be able to protect it or eliminate it, but I think you will definitely get the respect and get the historical background for everybody.
Yeah,
Say,
exactly.
okay, that's where I came from. But I think protecting the style or calling it only Italian Grape Ale, I think it's going to be very, very difficult. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, Derek. Sorry, Ricky. We have a few times more, so we can keep the questions for the end of the evening, if you wish. If Gianriccardo can stay with us, thank you.
Thank you.
I know it's an interesting point. So if we have more time, we can go back to the question later on, and then we would like to show you the one of the three brewery that win at Birra dell'Anno in 2022. We have three categories: Italian Grape Ale, Red Italian Grape Ale, White Italian Grape Ale, and Sour Italian Grape Ale. In the Red Italian Grape Ale won the Birrificio Alba, that unfortunately cannot be with us. In the Sour Italian Grape Ale won Birrificio dell'Eremo, that can send us a video. And Tony, please, are you there? Tony got the video.
Yes, I will show you the video
okay.
with the. Okay, just one second.
Meanwhile, I can tell you that we have 92 Italian Grape Ale at Birra dell'Anno 2022, which are several. Okay, we finish at 9:05 p.m. Okay. So Tony, before the video, because we have to finish in 10 minutes, I'd like to give the possibility to speak at Elia Pina and Alberto Cataldo from 50-50, which are live with us. And they won at White Italian Grape Ale category with their beer called Graziella, which is a name of a famous bicycle in Italy. And it's actually an Italian grape lager beer. Ciao Albert, ciao Elia.
Ciao. Ciao. Hello everyone. Good evening to everyone.
Albert, would you like to present the brewery in
yes,
a few minutes, please? Thank you.
Yeah. So, hi, hello everyone again. My name is Alberto. Here's my associate Elia, which actually is the brewer of 50-50, 50-50. We born in 2014. We are a really small brewery, and we gaining some audience during those 2-3 last years, becoming this year, like on gaining, as Simone was saying, the gold medal on the YT category, which actually maybe is not fit for our beer, because as he was saying, as Simone was saying, our grape ale is made with lager yeast, with bottom fermentation yeast. And also, we use, as Nicola Pera was saying later, we also use a part of wine yeast, a white wine yeast. So it's very curious. Actually, we wanted to brew this product in the first place because we wanted we consider the IGA category really open, really a playground, as if we can say so. So we wanted to play a little bit more, and we wanted to brew it in bottom fermentation. And that's the basic idea. And also, for us, that's our thought. That is our thought. Brewing a grape beer with a bottom fermentation yeast gives that beer less complexity than usual and more drinkability, because basically it is a lager. It is a beer, our Graziella, made 100% with the Pils malt. Yeah, 100% with Pils malt. So that was the idea. A really simple grape beer. Less and more, that was the idea. Then I don't know if you want to know something else about it.
Yeah, speak a little bit about the beer and the grape use and how to use it.
Okay, yes, of course. Yeah. In the beer we use Moscato grapes, which we go to take it in Piemonte, so actually not in our region, not in Lombardia, which is our region, but in Piemonte is a region really close to us. Probably a region that for grape has more variety, more history, more quality. I presume. I don't want to I don't want to say something wrong, but so with the help of a friend, we found this cantina, come si dice? How do you say? This non trovo le parole. Produce vino. Winemaker. Okay.
Winemaker.
We found this winemaker, and we tried. We actually had already the idea of the Moscato, so we tried some different Moscato must, because we use it on a raw must in fermentation. Exactly. Yeah. In fermentation. So we found that that must we liked really a lot. That gives us a really profumo. Really, yes, a really nice aroma. Sorry, excuse me. A really nice aroma, and that's it. And we try to brew it to use it on this lager base beer. Also, we have found, as I was saying, this wine yeast, this wine yeast that works at the same temperature of the lager yeast, and that was a little bit the, how can I say so, turning point, if I can say that, because that yeast elevates more the aroma, the must aroma, and
the transformation of the thiol,
presume,
by the must and by the hops.
Yeah, because that's it. That is also it, because we actually use even hops on that beer. We use what was the mosaic?
Mosaic.
We do a small dry hopping with a mosaic hops, so an American hop. We don't use it like in an IPA,
No,
but
only in biotransformation.
Okay. Only in biotransformation, because that with the yeast help to came out the Moscato Grey Must aroma.
Okay.
That's a little
Grazie Alberto. Thank you, Albert. Thank you, Elia. I want to invite you all to taste this beer in Italy, and unfortunately we have no more time. In 3 minutes the Zoom communication will close. So I want to thank all the guys that participate. I want to thank Tony, 50-50, Gianriccardo, Nicola, of course, Bo and Brett for this opportunity. And we arrange to send the video of Birra dell'Eremo to Brett to share for you. And also, if you have some more questions, we have you can write to me, and I will relay the question to Gianriccardo, Nicola, or 50-50 for sure. And thank you all, Brad.
Yeah, thank you. That's fantastic, and thank you to all the speakers. Far too many to name, but Simone has already thanked them. So thanks from everyone at EBCU, Simone. Fantastic evening. Obviously, a lot to fit in. I do apologise, but it is an introduction to the style. So I'm sure you could tell us more. And if you have any more information, please pass it on. Thanks to everyone for this evening. Do keep an eye out on the EBCU website for our next talk, which is on Sakti, which is the Scandinavian beer. And then we're going to take a break over the summer holidays. But before we run out of time, I just want to say thanks to everyone. The recording, we will process it, and then it will be made available through the EBCU website in due course. Please be patient. We will do that. Thanks very much for everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Grazie a tutti. Ciao a tutti. Ciao Derek, ciao Tom.
Thank you. Ciao.
Ciao Tio, ciao.
Ciao a tutti.
Ciao Edu.